Mokwaba assigned by the news to view. As usual, it's about politics and governance, NPP, NDC, or other political parties in Ghana. Yo, yenti in some I will subscribe to your channel now. Now, all other relevant news. It's just like a can and answer was so and so at you. Won't be a Ghana air fan, baby, a susua and so at the body will not ever fat. They get him say in Simbi ever court, I get a 2 point. Since 7 minutes can be or church a course war, and they know Akofa in Chitumu and then a buying Elkumuda Abba and a Bimuso Aseni Abba. But when now about to just say a Dubois just say, Sikano, or baby a fire. Na obeli ki state secret bank crofobi be the omobe kemura a waka mpache se ex president Mahama se ex kanon pokura wo woni mu bi ene ne wayi wani a oma nkofo e mafia na saa enti we de mpanifo se kakum ye de kokko num ye kotie nsem ne enima eliki a former NSB boss e de abetu de se ex kanon kura no e ya de a wo president Mahama de bo wo man ni ade ade ye kotie nsem emresisi a ho so so to channel so maka de himi na so a.
First, former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Boahen, is threatening to disclose more state secrets if what he calls a malicious prosecution by the Attorney General is not halted. Boahen, who served under President Akufo-Addo, is facing 11 charges, including stealing and money laundering, alongside his wife and 2 others. He is currently on remand in the custody of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO. Now, the case centers on a controversial 49 million cedi transaction for software allegedly procured from an Israeli company. Prosecutors say the funds were misappropriated, but in a memo purportedly written from his IOCO cell, was used for covert national security operations. Joining me in studio for more on this is Martha Crinsel Aqua, head of news and current affairs at Adom News. Martha, now before we delve into Boahen's specific claims, there's also a memo from his lawyers to the National Security Coordinator. In it, Atachia argues that the prosecution itself violates Ghana's national security laws. What more can you tell us, Martha?
So the memo that was sent, this is what the lawyers, the cover letter that the lawyers sent, but the memo was titled Matters Relating to Special Operations Activities and Funding. And we know, before we delve into it, that when it comes to defense and security matters, we don't have full disclosure because it has to bother on our safety and security. So this is the cover letter sent by Mr. Kwabena Boahen's lawyer. Says our client has instructed us that a cursory look at the case from the document you inherited underscore the fact that the pith, which is a thrust of the matter that Attorney General is handling, bothers on national security. So that is caution. First of all, you should know it has to do with national security. And so I cannot disclose everything. But then he goes on to say, when I'm compelled, I will disclose. So he says, besides the intended prosecution violates the Security and Intelligence Agency Act 2020, Act 1030, and the National Signals Bureau Act 2020, Act 1040. And these ones talk about how they have special operations that they cannot talk about. It's not in national interest for us to even know that they are doing that. So now let's delve into the revelation.
Absolutely. What Boahen himself calls classified.
Right.
And
this one is privileged information because of where he sat as a Director General then. He said the Attorney General of the Republic has been very vocal in a number of press briefings where he brands my wife and I as criminals and alludes to transactions between a certain national BNC and account and private BNC accounts purportedly owned by us. And this one came up in even the very first press briefing about the fact that they created a private account and siphoned money meant for national activities into it.
Yes.
So he said, I cannot tell where the AG gets his theories from, but as your good office would have learned by now, the matter relates to transactions between your Special Services account and SPV account, BNC Communication Bureau. And the SPV is a Special Purpose Vehicle account. So usually it's created for special assignments, I'll call them. Duly authorized and created for the national security exigencies of the time, and for which my wife, in quote, duly vetted. So the wife did not earn that position by helping create those accounts because she was a wife, but because she was duly vetted, I say conflict of interest, but I'll leave it there. And the UMB were
instrumental. So, just clarity, duly vetted to hold that position.
To hold that position.
Right.
That's what he was seeking to do. Were instrumental in facilitating. So he went on and he talks about how it is bizarre that the Attorney General attempts to link unrelated transfers. We know last week we heard something about Ghana Water transfers. Unrelated transfers, withdrawals, and refunds for special operations with assets we do not own, and I'm interested in the part, and a few we own, which mostly predates the 2020 transactions that is Attorney General, had raised. And a cursory look on the part of anyone would reveal these facts. So yes, they own some of the properties, not all. As this ridiculous drama unfolds, some 49 million Ghana cedis of special operations funds have now become the subject of court actions, where my wife and I, as well as other affiliates, are being accused with charges including stealing and causing financial loss to the state. I have tried to withhold classified information from my interrogators, but I deem it prudent to inform your good office that, in light of the current developments, we run the risk of public disclosure of the following national security and intelligence operations expenditure items.
And this is where the meat is.
Yes.
This is where it's more important.
So he breaks it down and gives you the name of the operation, and then the amount that went into it, and who received the amount, or which institution, I should put it. So you have the special operations of 2020, and 9.54 million Ghana cedis went into ISC Holdings. Then you come to Operation Cont, that is between 20 and 2024. You have 6.9 million, and it went to various personnel. But I wonder who the various personnel are. Maybe with time we'll get details. Operation Calm Life, 2020, 2024, and 3.78 million went to various personnel. Parliament enactment of how much? 2020, 960K.
Which will be the National Signals Bureau Act, under which he's operating.
Yes, to pass it. It went to the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. That's not all. Then you come to the Parliament enactment of NSB LI.
Yes, which is a regulation you need to operate the act.
Exactly. 309,000 cedis went to the Subsidiary Legislative Committee, paid to pass the LI. Election special operations, and this is allowance. So I asked myself, what kind of allowance is 7.28 million? And it went to various personnel.
Yes.
Then you have the election specialized operations allowance. So the two are similar, but it went to different various personnel.
And different years as well.
Different years, yes. So 6.28. No, this two, it could be 2020, it could be 2020.
The first one is 2020,
2020 and this is 2024. So 6.76 million went to various personnel. They have support for opposition party. And this is where you have specialized equipment, communication equipment that were purchased. 8.3 million classified.
Martha, thank you so much. We'll direct our viewers to go and finish the reading on My Joy Online. Former director of the Ghana School of Law, Kweku Ansah-Asare, has raised concerns over the ongoing standoff between former Signals Bureau Director Kwabena Boahen and the Attorney General, describing it as a development with serious national security implications. And he joins me via phone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. I am just curious, from a legal standpoint, can a public officer threaten to reveal classified state information as a defense or a bargaining tool in an ongoing criminal prosecution?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I doubt very much whether that can be done, but I am baffled. When I read the details in the Daily Guide, I did ask myself whether we are serious as a nation. And let me just take on one. The recipients of one of the whopping sums, 5.139 million, is a so-called special aid to the president-elect. I mean, this is a case that the president, at that time, he was president-elect. Now he's the president. Let him come clean of this once and for all. It is alleged that this, colossal amount was spent on his outfit. Since he is now the president, and since this thing is now in the public domain, I stand to think that the president doesn't know anything about it. That is how come, this security information has been let out, to the public for the public's consumption. I think that the Auditor General must wake up and align himself to the president's 24-hour reset Ghana agenda. This kind of thing should not be allowed to go on. Now, all the sums Boahen has allegedly detailed seem to me, to have been blown by some ghost, persons. If the persons were, alive, I don't think that they will classify them under the classification, that we are reading about. Who classified? Who are the recipients? You remember some time ago, I said that the allegations against the former finance minister must be gone into so that we know the beneficiaries of the spoil. And I wasn't taking seriously. This is the second, revelation that should shake, the nation and wake us up from our slumber. We have gone to bed for far too long.
Prof, it's good that you mentioned...
So one person
yes,
is exposing national security. Who are the national security operatives? And this is where I'm afraid we are going to have problems with oral. National NSB, everybody knows NSB. Oral, we don't know them. And if the entity we know can, talk about these whopping sums of money going to, ghost names, then God, save them.
It's good that you mentioned that the Auditor General should look into it, but considering that it borders around national security, what legal mechanisms really can exist for auditing such expenditures?
Usually, when things like, that border on national security, the Attorney General may have to go, because it is under classified information, to state a case before the Supreme Court so that they can give leave, they can grant the AG's chambers leave, for some of these things to be heard in camera. Since they border on national security, full disclosure cannot be made without, leave granted by the Supreme Court. So I think that the AG must proceed, and do the needful by, filing an application for full disclosure so that we know who and who are the beneficiaries of this.
In the Attorney General's position of power for full disclosure, how much discretion does the Attorney General have in this particular, in cases such as this one?
I think the Attorney General is the minister, in charge of justice, and the Constitution mandates him under Article 88 clauses 3 and 4, to take charge of criminal prosecution. He has a discretion, as to how much, he can release to the nation. Mind you, he can start prosecution and he may enter a nolle prosequi. So the element of discretion is huge. And if you look at Article 88 Clause 1, he is the principal legal advisor who will be advising the president as to the state of play with regard, to some of these mind-boggling, revelations. So he has a lot. He has a lot of discretion, in this matter. And I think that he will not fail the nation. He should go all out, approach, the agencies who may also be, handling some such sensitive information.
Right.
I think this is something that will border on people's lives, and the threat will be, too much.
It's indeed
for
a
the nation.
it's a developing story. I will take you away from that slightly and take your thoughts on a story I'm yet to give my audience on the suspension of the Chief Justice. A little earlier in the day, former Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Michael Quay, has said that the provision in the Constitution 146, which allows that process is done in camera. He really thinks that for transparency, the matter, because it is of national importance, he argues that it shouldn't be done in camera because of the public interest. What are your thoughts on this?
We cannot be rewriting the Constitution, but there's a process for amending the Constitution. So if he has a strong feeling that shouldn't be done in camera, then he should do what the Constitution. As it is now, no one can rewrite, the Article 146 merely because we want, the television cameras, to be focused on the Chief Justice and the committee. That's not what the Constitution says. The Constitution says that it should be in camera, and in camera is something that Professor Michael Quay knows, what it is.
Right.
In camera means in camera. It is not, to be in the public glare. That is why it is in camera. Therefore, it should not be changed. The president should remain focused.
Right.
The nation must remain focused. This is a process. It's a constitutional process. Let us go through the process to the end. That is all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kukua Asare, former Director for Ghana School of Law, for talking to us this afternoon. You can now listen to Professor Aaron Michael Quay.
There's some interference in what the president is seeking to do, going to what the Constitution says, the potential removal of the Chief Justice. First, what is your reading of what is happening as far as the Article 146 is concerned and the processes taken by this administration?
A number of the things that are happening are so political that when it comes to these matters, I like to put on the hat of a constitutional student.
Right.
I study the Constitution. I am concerned about certain issues that I consider vital, particularly the trial in camera provision. You ask yourself, what is the rationale for that provision in our Constitution? It's there in black and white. What is its purpose? And if we were to give it a purposive interpretation, where shall we get to? The purpose, is it to benefit the people of Ghana as a whole, that the Chief Justice might be tried in camera? Because you see that even before